Buddy. I'm Ruth Mock. I'm our Sequoia Park Zoo's Director of Conservation and Research, and I'm very happy to see everybody here tonight. So thanks for everyone that could come to our watch party. Our speaker couldn't make it to be here in person tonight, even though they certainly, okay, it's working. Terrance, even though they certainly wanted to. So we hope you'll keep joining us for future ones. This will be our only virtual lecture of the series. And we hope you've all welcomed yourself to the refreshments in the back. If you haven't, feel free to grab anything. And we're just, excited to have everyone back here this winter. This is our 13th annual conservation lecture series, and we are generously sponsored by the Sequoia Park Zoo Foundation this year. The Sequoia Park Zoo Foundation is the philanthropic nonprofit partner that supports the Sequoia Park Zoo. And since its establishment in 2004, their team has raised over $14 million, helping fund the construction of new animal habitats and renovations, enhance our guest services experience, support our conservation programs, and so much more. So we want to thank them for all of their support, and especially for this series that they help bring to all of our audience here in person and our virtual audience as well. So just some housekeeping. I'm not sure why this is. But for folks that are here in person, if we need to use the restroom, you can go out through the back doors and to the right. If you need to leave during the lecture for any reason, we'll just have you guys go out through the back, and then gate C is where we're going to exit. So I'll leave it unlocked for us to leave at any time. And if I leave, we can make sure we have our phone silent so that it's not going on. I'll be posting that word and also cut down on road sounds as well. Thank you. Everyone is so good, all doing it. But this lecture is free and there is no obligation to donate, but the donations that people do make support our conservation fund here at the zoo. And that supports this lecture series and our conservation grant programs and so many other things that we get to do. So thank you for donating. If you feel inclined, we have a basket on our refreshment table. We also have copies of our lecture series calendar, so if you want to take those with you, feel free. They're just there on the corner. And this series is brought to you by our Zoo's Conservation Advisory Committee. This committee supports our zoo's conservation vision by helping bring awareness to different conservation issues that we think are relevant to our community. And part of the way that we do that is through this lecture series. We also select different field and research projects that we want to support through our zoo's conservation fund. And this lecture series is one of the programs, and it's organized by Michaela Gunther, who is a professor at Cal Poly Humboldt in the wildlife department. And she's been on our committee since its inception in 2011. So she's been doing a ton of work, and we thank her very much for making this happen each year. But thanks also to our other committee members who help with all of these other amazing programs that are that we fulfill with our Conservation Advisory Committee, like our conservation grants and orders for conservation projects. So thanks, Chris is here tonight, and Lisa, and Jim just headed out. But they put a ton of work into all of this. So thanks, everybody. And to our virtual participants who hopefully can sort of see. Hi, everybody. Trying to get this camera. It has a mind of its own tonight. So welcome to our virtual participants. You can log into any of our lectures for the whole series, either on Zoom or on Facebook Live. So feel free to ask questions in the Zoom chat or in the Facebook comments as it's going along, and we will collect them all and ask them to our speaker at the end. Your audio and video are going to be turned off to help enhance our streaming experience, but we do have other accessibility options that are on Zoom, including auto-generated captions and transcripts. So let us know if you have any issues with that. So finally, I'm very excited to welcome Terrance Lee tonight, who is here from the Red Panda Network. This is an organization that is committed to the conservation of wild red pandas and their habitats by empowering and educating local communities throughout Nepal. And Terrance is the deputy director, and they've been there since 2013. And we are very lucky to have had Terrance visit our zoo in person several times.
I'm thrilled to be here. This is fantastic. I really wish I was there in person. I love the Sequoia Park Zoo. It's a beautiful place, and I got to go there. I think it was 2 summers ago, or maybe it was spring, and do the tree walk with my daughter, and which was incredible, and spend some time with the wonderful red pandas. That was so cool. So yeah, I'm honored to be here, and yeah, I'm excited to talk about red pandas. I love talking about red pandas for obvious reasons, and I also enjoy talking about the work we do to save them. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen, and then I'll start my presentation. If anyone has any questions, I'm assuming you probably want to wait till the end. All right. So the name of my presentation is Saving the Last of the First Panda. And basically, I'm going to go through what red pandas are. I'm sure a lot of you already know a lot about red pandas, but and then I'm going to kind of talk about why they're unique, important, and endangered. I'm also going to go over some of the threats to their survival, and then I'm going to talk about our community-based red panda conservation programs. So these cute pandas they were photographed in eastern Nepal in the Panchtar Ilam Tabajung corridor, is what we call it, the PIT corridor, which is where we actually started our work, and I'll talk more about that later. And I believe these are, at least one of these is a young panda, probably a year or younger. So, as I'm sure a lot of you are aware, red pandas are actually the first panda, or the original panda, as we like to call them. And they surprisingly are not related to giant pandas, unlike the name would suggest. And were actually discovered almost 50 years before giant pandas. So, hence the first panda, original panda. They've been found to be more associated with the mustelid family, skunks, weasels, and the raccoon family as well. And as I'm sure you're aware, red pandas are a very unique species. They're a very specialized species. They're in their own family. They're the only surviving member of their taxonomic family, Alurdiae. And there's really no species like them. There's no surviving species that is in their family and that really resembles a red panda. We've also found them to be very important to the ecosystem that they live in. So they've been identified as something weird just happened. A flagship and indicator species, as well as an umbrella or landscape species. So as a flagship species, they're basically sort of thought of as an ambassador of the Eastern Himalayan ecoregion, which is a very important ecoregion to our planet's biodiversity. So, as a more charismatic species, a species that people are really starting to care about, they represent this area. And, by people paying attention to them and wanting to conserve them, that helps to kind of, engage people with conserving this area. And that also kind of connects to how they're an umbrella or landscape species. So they have sort of a large range for being, a small to medium sized mammal, very much like a carnivore. Actually, their ancestors were carnivores, and a lot of their, morphology, a lot of their uh, physical characteristics and even behavior resembles a carnivore, and including the range. So by conserving them like an umbrella, as you can see in this image here, we're conserving a lot of other important and threatened species in the Himalayas. And lastly, they're also an indicator species. And the reason for that is because they are very specialized and also sensitive species. So they're very sensitive to changes in the local environment. Um, and that's mainly due to the fact that, as I'm sure you're aware, they mostly eat bamboo. Like 98% of their diet in the wild is bamboo. And bamboo usually grows in these, healthy forests, in these old growth forests. And so if there's bamboo, um, if there's red pandas, that means there's bamboo. And if there's bamboo, that can kind of help indicate that the forest is healthy. And if there's changes in the environment and that affects the bamboo, that will affect the red pandas. So yeah, very important species. So this is the range in Asia. It includes Nepal, Bhutan, India, China, and Myanmar. And unfortunately, red pandas are also endangered. Uh, our data shows that there's less than 10,000 remaining in the wild, and there may be as few as 2,500. And an alarming statistic is that our planet has lost half of its red pandas in the wild in a 20-year span. And in Nepal, which is their westernmost range, where we mostly work, they're nearly extinct. Actually, there's not a lot remaining in that area, which is one of the reasons why we really have prioritized conservation in Nepal. So deforestation and poaching are well, let me back up. Actually, habitat loss is the primary threat to red pandas, um, mainly due to deforestation, habitat degradation, and fragmentation. But poaching over the last few years has been on the rise. I can get into that more later, but the main causes of deforestation and habitat degradation are the unsustainable harvest of forest resources, which includes timber, fuel wood, fodder, NTFPs, and bamboo. So if you can imagine this area, it's the Himalayas, it's cold, and a lot of the communities there are very rural, and so they're very forest dependent. So they rely on forest resources to survive, including fuel wood for their stoves so they can cook and heat their homes. And so a lot of this dependence, there's a lot of poverty, a lot of limited access to sustainable resources. This can result in forest degradation and even habitat loss. And then I mentioned bamboo earlier. So sort of what complicates the situation for pandas is their dependence on bamboo, which is an interesting species. It has this sort of mass flowering followed by die-off life cycle. So what it'll do is at a certain point every so many years, it'll flower and then all of it will die. And so if red pandas are in the area and all the bamboo flowers then dies, they then have to relocate to bamboo to areas where there's bamboo that's alive. And so if they have to if they have to travel and the forest is fragmented, it puts them in a precarious situation, having to cross, settled or cleared areas that make them vulnerable to other threats. And also, bamboo doesn't establish very well in areas that have been developed or disturbed. And so, these sort of effects can make it difficult for red pandas to survive. So this is where red pandas live, or at least this is their potential habitat in Nepal. I mentioned earlier the PIT corridor. So this is that area. That's the Panjtar, Ilam, Tablajung districts. And then I'm not going to talk about this too much because it's, not fun to talk about or look at. But poaching is on the rise, and I'll talk about what we're doing to mitigate that threat. Right. So this is interesting. So there was a study that was published here in Munga Bay News that this is from Traffic, that red panda poaching and illegal trade is actually being kind of fueled by a fake demand. So basically, misinformation is causing, red pandas to be poached and traded. So, yeah, they call it basically a fake market. So, something that we're doing is we're educating local people that there is no demand for these red pandas, on the market. So there's no reason to poach them. There's no reason to capture them. And so it's an interesting discovery. All right, so now my favorite part: what we're doing to save red pandas. Real quick, we in 2016 completed the nation's first red panda population habitat survey. So this basically confirmed where they are, or where we believe they are, based on, the local habitat, anecdotal evidence. So this is confirmed habitat and also potential habitat. And so yeah, here's the PIT corridor. In I believe 2018, I'll be able to confirm that later if my memory serves me correct. 2018, we expanded to 7 districts in Western Nepal. So this is a very rural part of Nepal. And we were actually the first organization to do red panda conservation over there. And then earlier this year, we actually expanded to 3 more districts in Eastern Nepal, which was very exciting. This is how we conserve red pandas. These are different themes. And thanks to our supporters, we've been doing this for 16 years. So we last year celebrated our 15-year anniversary. So yeah, it's been quite the journey. All right, so if any of you follow us on social media or receive any of our emails, I'm sure you've heard of our Forest Guardian program. This really is, we call our Forest Guardians the heart of red panda conservation. They really do, they really are on the front lines of saving the species. They're local people who we hire who monitor and protect the forests, and they also educate their local community members about red panda conservation and why we need to save them. This person right here, Manuka, there's an amazing documentary called The Firefox Guardian that's about her. So she was the first female forest guardian that we hired, and a fantastic filmmaker named Gunjan Menon created this film. And if you get a chance to watch it, I highly recommend it. It's a beautiful film. So yeah, the name of the Forest Guardian program originally was called Punde Kundo, And yeah, it's the first community-based red panda monitoring program in the world. And here are a lot of our forest guardians. We have, I think, 128 right now. We started with like 8, so it's definitely growing. In 2007, we began our work in the PIT corridor, which we're establishing as the PIT Red Panda Protected Forest, the world's first community protected forest, or area dedicated to saving red pandas. And here's a forest guardian looking at a basically a latrine tree. It's so red pandas they go to the bathroom in the same tree basically that's around. So this forest guardian is looking to see if there's any scat, to see if there's any red pandas around. So that's one of the methods that we use to find them. So yeah, in 2016, we collaborated with, I mentioned this earlier, it was the first survey conducted in Nepal to confirm where red pandas were located. And we found that there were red pandas in 23 districts in Nepal. We're currently working in 13 of those, so over 50% of the districts in Nepal were red panda range districts we're working in. Like I said before, in 2018, we began working in Western Nepal. This is very exciting. So in 2018, we also worked with the government of Nepal to develop the first national conservation action plan. So this was huge for, nationwide conservation efforts. And we actually used this plan to guide our work. And okay. We also did we did the same thing in Bhutan, and that'll come up later. So in 2018, we also began our anti-poaching campaign, and we launched our first. We established our first anti-poaching network. So these are local stakeholders, including forest guardians, that we hire to monitor red panda habitat and report any poaching activity to enforcement agencies. And they also will actually dismantle traps and snares, and they've dismantled many traps and snares in red panda habitat. We now have 12 of these networks, so it's exciting. This is part of our we call the campaign now "No Panda Poaching." So we worked with a local celebrity in Nepal, who he's actually globally known. He's a fantastic artist, and he's helping us raise awareness about, like I mentioned earlier, sort of that misinformation that's fueling the illegal red panda trade. So he's helping us to stop that misinformation and educate local people. And this is one of the posters that we actually distributed in Nepal. So in 2019, we also worked with the government of Bhutan to develop their first national red panda conservation action plan. And we're also doing some community-based work in Bhutan as well. We worked with Rotterdam Zoo in 2019 to conduct a camera trap mammal survey, and we got many exciting photos that revealed many exciting discoveries, include the first photographic evidence of this endangered marbled cat. Pretty very rare species and pretty cute. So this was a huge achievement. In 2019, we began construction of what we call now the Himalayan Habri Center. And we actually completed it this year, and we had an opening that I was very fortunate enough to attend on Earth Day this year. So yeah, this is a green building. We use a lot of green and sustainable technology, and it's basically a education and skill building hub, an education center that really helps to bolster sustainable livelihood opportunities for local people. It's a spectacular place. In 2019, we launched Plant a Red Panda Home, which really is one of our it's really one of our core campaigns. It's one of our signature campaigns, and it's like all of our programs, it's community based, and we work with local people to plant trees. We will actually buy private land, and the goal is to establish this community protected forest corridor for red pandas and other wildlife to live in. So one of these exciting discoveries from the camera trap mammal survey was a Bengal tiger that was actually photographed at over 3,000 meters in Elam district. So this is actually the highest altitude that a tiger has ever been sighted, and the first photographic evidence of this species in that area. We conducted Nepal's first GPS collaring project for red pandas, where we actually equipped 10 wild red pandas with GPS satellite collars. So we conducted this in collaboration with Rotterdam Zoo, and yeah, it's provided a lot of findings on their behavior, on their threats. It's really is really starting to help provide further guidance for our conservation, and really just to help us understand red pandas on another level in this area. Yeah, I mentioned before that we'll purchase land for restoration. So this up here is actually some of the land that we purchased, and we're restoring land down here. There's actually you can't really see in this photo, but there's actually a forest that's beginning to regenerate, and there's actually been wildlife sightings. So wildlife is actually returning to this area after we've restored it, including red pandas. So we're starting to see, so we have some photographs of the wildlife. So we're really starting to see evidence of that our work is really making an impact. And this is actually one of our forest conservation nurseries in the area's Jubari, which is part of Elam district. And yeah, these are just some of the numbers for our habitat restoration. And the forest conservation nurseries that there was a photograph of in the previous slide, they're really important to this campaign, and they produce a lot of saplings, and they're also really important for sustainable livelihoods. I mean, the whole restoration campaign provides a lot of alternative income for local people. Some of our other accomplishments are the start of a economic empowerment program for local women. Women experience a lot of barriers and inequalities in rural Nepal. So we're really committed to trying to help these women find financial independence through sustainable livelihood and alternative income programs. And then, yeah, like I mentioned earlier, the collar study in 2022, we released actually a press release about it, just about how the collar study has really helped us understand red panda behavior and threats to their survival, and as well as guided our conservation strategies. And this person right here, Sonam Tashilama, he in 2022 won a very prestigious award, the Whitley Award, to help people in red pandas, which was a incredible achievement. So we're super proud of him. He's actually been with Red Panda Network since the very beginning. So he's he's absolutely a conservation hero. Here are some of our forest guardians that we hired this year in the new districts that we began working in this year. And yeah, these are actually some of the first forest guardians that we recruited in the new districts. So yeah, very exciting. This is a short video about our achievements last year. So this is a press release that we actually released it a couple years ago, but basically our data has shown that red panda numbers are in fact improving in the areas that we're working. So our community-based approach to conservation is absolutely helping the red panda population to improve, which was obviously, very encouraging. And yeah, we obviously um, couldn't make this progress without the support of our members and donors. And one of the campaigns that I talked about earlier, Plant a Red Panda Home, is actually the campaign that we are raising funds for right now. So we are continuing to restore habitat to create that wildlife corridor in Nepal. And right now, funds are being matched by some of our conservation partners. Sequoia Park Zoo is one of our conservation partners, which is incredible. They've been a generous supporter for years, and we're so thankful. So yeah, so if you want to double your impact for red panda conservation, go check out our website. And there's other ways to get involved too. And yeah, thank you so much for letting me talk about red pandas and our work. And yeah, thank you so much. Let me know if you have any questions.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Mostly about the environment there. I understand bamboo has a low nutrient value, so is there a special digestive enzyme that these red pandas have? And then I wondered about the trees you were planting. Is a mixed forest better for them than pure stands of bamboo?
Yeah, great question. So to answer the first question, yeah, bamboo is not high in nutrients. And red pandas only absorb, I believe it's about like 20% around of the nutrients in bamboo. So that's why they have to eat a lot of it. So, and then your second question, yes, we do plant, diversity is better, just like any healthy environment. And so we plant native trees, including trees that are red panda food and shelter species, which includes bamboo.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions from our in-person participants here for Terrance?
I have a question. Since you know that there's a lot of the taxa that in their line, did you go back to the fossil record to determine that, or how did you make that decision that they were the last ones in that genetic line?
Did you hear that, Terrance?
Yeah. That's a good question. Probably someone who has more knowledge of genetics would probably know better than I do. Yeah, I don't really know what the process was like. I just know that all the other species in the Alurdiae family are extant, and one of I think it's like the short-snouted something, short-snouted dog or something. That's one of the I used to know the Latin name, but that's one of the extant species that was a tree-dwelling carnivore. It kind of reminded me of a fossa, the way it sort of was built and moved. But yeah, that was one of the species that red pandas are related to. So yeah, unfortunately, I'm not really that knowledgeable of genetics. So yeah, someone at the zoo would probably know better than me, I would think.
We can't all know everything, Terrance, that's fine. We have a question from our online audience. Ken would like to know, if there's no actual demand for poached pandas, where do these poached pandas end up going that poachers have?
Well, they do go to the they do go to the illegal market. But we found that red panda pelts, for example, are only worth about $1 US, which even in a place where $1 US is worth more than what it is for us here in the US, it's still not anywhere close to being worth the risk of poaching a protected species in Nepal. So yeah, so unfortunately that's where the sort of the problem is that these people don't know that, if they were to sell the red panda and get it to the illegal market, the return will only be, $1 US at best. So it's just not worth the risk, which is one of the messages that we, share.
Another question is, have you used detection dogs to try to detect red panda signs, or do you feel like the current methods you're able to use are adequate for assessing that population?
Not that I'm aware of. So yeah, our method is it's pretty sound. We, for example, our forest guardians are who go out and find red pandas for our eco trips, and our eco trips have had a 100% viewing rate for the last, a number of years. So yeah, it's an effective method. The thing with using dogs is that free roaming, / feral dogs are actually a very they're a major threat to red pandas, actually. There's a lot of free roaming dogs in rural Nepal, including like herder dogs, dogs that herders have to help with their livestock. And they'll chase and attack red pandas, and red pandas can catch diseases, you know, including rabies, and yeah. So and it'll actually, and they'll actually kill the red pandas. So we wouldn't want to use dogs because that would obviously stress out the bees. So yeah.
All right, we have another question from Sherman and Eva. They would like to know, are the zoo's red pandas on loan? So I think I can answer that one if you'd like, Terrance. I think this question is originating because the giant pandas, there's been a lot of the news lately about giant pandas at National Zoo who were on loan from China have just been returned, and they're wondering, could something similar be going with red pandas here? The red pandas at our zoo, Cine and Sumo, are part of our zoo's family, so they're not on loan, but the entire accredited zoo system through our Association of Zoos and Aquariums has a species survival plan for red pandas. So based on what those specialists recommend, our zoos do move around pandas for the good of their population so that good genetic matches can be together to make better breeding pairs that will make our healthiest and most genetically diverse zoo population of red pandas. So it's not alone where they necessarily are going to move, but sometimes we do move animals around from one zoo to another to benefit this species survival plan and our conservation programs. All right, we still have more. We have many, many more questions. If you're okay, Terrance. Michaela, she says, thank you for your talk. It was wonderful to hear about all the great work that your organization is doing. I was curious about what are some of the highlights you learned from GPS collaring the wild red pandas. I understand they're very difficult to observe in the wild, and I wonder if you learned some fun new things from the collaring effort.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'd have to go back and look at that press release to remember exactly some of our findings, but I do remember that it helped us kind of understand their movement, their movement within their habitat, and also how they respond to threats. So threats like road development. So one of the major threats to red pandas is road development. There's a lot of like in eastern Nepal, for example, there's just a lot of roads going into their habitat, and so this affects red pandas in a lot of ways. And so the collar study helped us kind of understand, their behavior and how they respond to, threats like road development, and habitat fragmentation and disturbances like that. So yeah, it helped us understand a lot, including that. So
That's so interesting. And we have another in-person question here.
I have two questions, if that's appropriate. You mentioned in your presentation that your 5-year plan, or it's a Nepalese 5-year plan, is going to be lasting through 2023. Do they intend to review that with another 5-year plan or with further conservation efforts?
Could you hear that, Terrance?
I did, yeah.
Okay.
I'm sure that is the plan. I'm not exactly sure where we're at in that process, but yeah, good question.
And then you personally, Terrance, how did you get into conservation efforts? What kind of education or experience does one need to be in a similar role that you find yourself in?
Yeah, so I have a degree in biology. I've just been in the I've been working in nonprofit development for a long time, and So I think it kind of depends, on what side of conservation you want to work in. So if you want to work like, in the field, if you want to, do the actual, like implement the actual conservation programs. So, for example, where we work is obviously in the Himalayas. You'd want to pursue probably like wildlife biology, or, ecology or something like that. And then, I mean, zoos are obviously great places to, get experience with, stuff like that, including like, veterinary studies um, and then if you want to work more on the, sort of development side, like where I'm at, really just, learning about nonprofit fundraising and management and getting experience working, in outreach and development within the nonprofit field is a great way to, and there's degrees you can get and things like that. You know, Real life experience is really helpful in that area. So I can obviously speak more to that. Our team in Nepal, our conservation team, probably has a lot of insight on how to get involved in, the actual like in situ conservation. So.
All right, thank you. I think we've got one more question from our online group. Sherman and Eva would like to know, do pangolins benefit in any way from your work?
Yeah, we love pangolins. So they actually, their habitat overlaps with red panda habitat in areas that we work. So like basically I think the top of pangolin range overlaps with the lower part of red panda range habitat range. And so when we conserve red pandas, we're obviously helping to, as an umbrella species, a landscape species, we're helping to conserve pangolins. But we also actually have, we're actually creating a pangolin conservation program. So because as I'm sure a lot of pangolins are very threatened. They're the most trafficked mammal in the world. And so, we've just found an opportunity to help make a difference for this species as well that we care so much about. So we're using some of the same methods that we use to save red pandas, that happen to apply to protecting pangolins, including the Forest Guardian program. We're actually planning to call it pangolin guardians. So local people we hire to protect pangolins. So yeah, great question.
That's so awesome. And just a little plug also for our zoo's Quarters for Conservation program. So every time you come to the zoo, 50 cents of every admission ticket is donated to conservation work. And one of our recipients this year is Wildlife Alliance, which is working to protect pangolins. So now you have two ways you can help protect pangolins. The Red Panda Network is also getting involved, so that's pretty awesome. And we have another comment as well from Alegria Sita. She says, such a fantastic presentation. Thank you so much for the work that you're doing. So we've had just a lot of great feedback from having you come and talk and visit with us. We just so appreciate everything that the Red Panda Network is doing out there to save red pandas. It's been amazing watching your programs grow over the years, and Sequoia Park Zoo is proud to continue supporting you and would love for you to share how others can also donate and support. You did mention you have the campaign going right now, but where should people go to support?
Yeah, our website is a great place to check out what we're doing and how to get involved. Yeah, was mentioned, we're right now raising funds to restore red panda habitat, reconnect those fragmented habitats. And yeah, right now funds are being matched 1-to-1 by our conservation partners. And yeah, this has been such an honor and such an awesome opportunity to be here. It's so cool you're doing the in-person and virtual component. That's really great. And yeah, just thanks so much for listening and being here.
Yeah, thank you, Terrance. We just want to give you a big thank you. And we had one more comment too from an in-person participant. Did you want to?
Yeah, I don't know if you can see me or not.
But he can hear you.
But you can hear me?
Yeah, I can hear
you. Okay. I just wanted to say that this was very uplifting in a world where we're always pretty much told by the media on a regular basis that don't bother because the problem is too big and there's nothing you can really do to fix it. It is really wonderful to see you showing us the presentation where people got together and are fixing it. And I really appreciate that. And I really appreciate the work.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, we need those encouraging stories, right? So yeah, thank you.
And Lisa also had a comment.
I was very impressed to see the use of local people in the program. That's absolutely wonderful. Gives them a sense of pride while trying to help save the panda. So good.
Yeah, our real quick, our executive director, Angpuri Sherpa, he has a quote that I really like to share is conservation cannot happen on an empty stomach. And that's always been really inspiring for me, and that's part of why we have such a community-based approach. If people are always having to struggle to survive, it's really hard to prioritize conservation, so that's why we really emphasize helping the local people to be in a position where they can live as harmoniously as possible with local wildlife. So yeah.
Well, thank you, Terrance, again for coming to talk to our community. We so appreciate that, and we'll continue to follow everything that the Red Panda Network is doing to improve the lives of communities in Nepal and the red pandas there. And thank you everyone for coming, and to the Sequoia Park Zoo Foundation for sponsoring the series this year. Our next lecture is going to be December 13th by Robin Norman, and they'll be speaking about cetaceans of the North Coast, a renewed effort for gray whale foraging research. And Robin was a recipient of one of our zoo's conservation grants, so we're really eager to hear how that project went and look forward to sharing that with everybody. So thank you again. We'll be here in person. This was our only virtual lecture of the series, but we'll still be broadcasting everything virtually so people can participate from all over, and we'll look forward to seeing you then.
Great.
So,